I applied for Georgia State. I just applied. I sent my my $25 down there, and I applied for my FAFSA, for financial aid, and I hadn't been granted parole yet. I hadn't been granted parole yet, and I just walked on faith. And that February, I was actually granted parole. And so I just said, I'm calling this out. I called it out, and these are some of the keys that was and some of the tools that was given to us in
But
basics.
it's not as simple as just changing how you think, is it? I mean, there are people sitting out there now, maybe.
It is. It's just as easy as changing how you think, because once you change how you think, other things start falling in place. You are able to use the tools that are given to you. You can have the tools all day. The tools are sitting there for you. But if a person don't know how to if they're using a wrench as a hammer, they're misusing the tool. But if they use the wrench as a wrench, then they have the knowledge to use the wrench as a wrench, then they use it properly. And so just gaining the knowledge and changing my mindset, understanding that that wrench was not a hammer, that it is a wrench, that I was able to do some things. It's just a matter of what you decide to do.
So can you, if you were to compare the Kevin who went in at 20 after being convicted of murder to the Kevin now, I mean, do you think that the spark to accomplish all of this was in that Kevin, or was this something that developed later on with help from the Basics program and all of that? I mean, do you recognize yourself from that person?
I believe each and every individual has it within them. It's just a matter of how does it come out, how does it get pulled out. I had some great opportunities that I squandered, if you will. I had the opportunities. I was in Rome. I went to East Rome High. I played ball there. I had some people who liked me, but I squandered opportunities. So the opportunities to be me was there, but I didn't have the light, if you will. And I do a talk called The Lamp. The light is there, but it's your source. A lamp is the source of how that light shines. The light is no good without the source, without the lamp. And so what I believe is that the light was there. It was just not turned on.
Right.
So the Basics program allowed me to turn on those lights and start turning on other lights and flipping on other switches. And as I began to flip on those switches, more things start coming out till I'm at the position that I'm in today with trying to finish now with gaining my doctorate degree. I started my company with Global Leadership Integrated. And we doing speeches, and we doing talks, and we doing workshops. We're doing a lot of things now. All this started at Basics. This is the thing that, we talked about, Mr. Menifee talked about earlier, as far as getting that entrepreneurial spirit. I'm not asking nobody
Right.
for anything. And that's the mindset I think that we try to take back in with some of the peer is that get off this welfare thinking, if you will. Somebody has to do it for you. Somebody has to rehabilitate you. Or somebody has to give you this class, or somebody has to do this. That's not there. And we're not teaching inmates. I think that's what we're going to let them know. We're not in here to teach inmates, prisoners, convicts. We're in here to teach men and women, how to be men and women.
Wow, powerful statement.
Successful men and women.
Successful men and
Successful
women.
men and women.
Yeah, and two, Clay didn't tell you that when he went to college, he had what's it called?
Yeah, the ankle monitor.
Ankle monitor. And he went down to Georgia State, and all the girls thought he was single, thought he was wearing a bracelet around his leg, trying to be fly, They didn't know what ankle monitor was. The same thing with the prison language, misdemeanor, felon.
Right.
That's not street language for the average kid, Street kids, they get arrested, they holler, this is my first offense.
Right.
But the regular kid's scared to death. And two, the mindset is so important. Like they take 12-step program for drugs and alcohol, and we tell them, hey, no, let's get this prison thing out your head right now. If you want to be somebody, don't take no 12 steps. You make that mind up right now. then you could be all right. You can, and when you outgrow this prison, they're gonna let you out of here, because you bad for business. That place is for prisoners. It's not for human beings that's ready to take care of business like
All
Mr.
right.
Clay.
I love it. Powerful last words. We got to get out of here. 11,000 people through the program. I think 70 or more percent success rate.
86%.
86. Amazing.
Yeah.
We'll have to come back.
All right.
And we'll continue this conversation because it's been amazing. And I hope that this information has been something that has been beneficial for somebody out there watching. You have a loved one or someone who's in there. If you're in the system, call and find out about this Basics program. It sounds like it's really worthwhile. Mr. Menifee, Mr. Clay, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, my name is Carlise Yvette Greer and I'm here with the viewer mailbag. Mary in Norcross asked, my husband and I were separated for 3 years and just recently started the divorce proceedings. He died before divorce became final and his live-in girlfriend is claiming everything. What rights do I have? Well, Mary, because the divorce was not actually made final, if there is no court order signed off by a judge and filed in court prior to your husband's death, then your divorce was not final and you're still married. And so you would proceed in probate as a married couple. If your husband had a will and the will designated who property should go to, the probate court will look to the will for guidance. If your husband did not have a will, then the court will divide it by what we call the laws of intestate. And typically that means the property is divided between the spouse and the children. And so the live-in girlfriend, unless your husband specifically named her in a will, is probably out of luck. Now, to know more specifics about your case, you do need to have an attorney look everything over, but those are some general guidelines to get you started.